Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Sam Livingston, and today I want to talk a little bit about eXp as a national cloud-based brokerage and what prompted me to move my license from one national brokerage to eXp. I'll start with a little bit of background on myself. I do have a military background. I joined the Marine Corps when I was 17 years old. I was a reconnaissance Marine on active duty for 6 years, and then I transitioned over to the Army. Did complete 20 years of service between the two, and have deployed a handful of times, most notably to Iraq and Afghanistan. So my background lends itself to utilizing that military training for most of the things I do in my business. I was licensed in 2006 as a real estate agent. The reason I got licensed is I was flipping homes, and I really did not like the REO real estate agent that I typically dealt with. So I got licensed. I was with a small brokerage. They were local, probably a 300-mile radius they worked out of. So there was a little bit of antiquation with their systems. Now, this was a great place for me to learn. I started there and I worked there for about a year when I started hearing these comments about a realtor in our area named Keller Williams. And none of the comments were really good. So I started to think about who this Keller Williams guy was and what it was that he was irritating people about. So what I came to find was Keller Williams was obviously the broker that is Keller Williams as we know it today. But at that time, when Keller Williams first came into Ohio, there was a lot of chatter about it, and a lot of these brokers and managers that had depended on the systems that they had in place for years and years, they also were dependent on no one else coming in there with something better to offer. So as I looked at the Keller Williams model, it was really exciting to me. The splits were phenomenally different than what I was used to. I was working for a 45-55 split, and I think that was pretty common in those days, at least in my area. Keller Williams was coming with an immediate 20% increase in split, a lot more training, and then this wonderful tool they call profit share. So when I looked at it on its whole and on its face, I said, this is a brilliant plan. No wonder there's a lot of negativity around it from brokers who need me to keep my license with them, or other agents to keep their license at those various brokerages. So after that year, I went ahead and I made the switch over to Keller Williams. I was there for about a year when I was called up for Afghanistan. So when I went away to Afghanistan, my whole business was obviously put on hold, and I came back after about 15 months to start over. And if anyone's left the country for 15 months and started over in real estate, it's not the easiest process. So I joined a team. That team subsequently became the #1 team in Ohio. I think that they're still probably #1 in Ohio. They do a ton of business. They're nationally ranked. They're doing some really big things. And I was lucky enough to be a part of that process while they were growing, and before and during and even after they became the #1 team in Ohio. So I have a lot of respect for Keller Williams and what they've been able to do, and the processes they put in place so that teams could grow that way. And what I've come to find is there's always going to be progression, and Keller Williams was a big part of that progression for me. With that said, eXp recently came into Ohio about a little over 2 years ago, and some of that same chatter that I heard about that bad realtor named Keller Williams started to resurface, and it was a lot of negativity. Some of the things I heard was that eXp was a company that was not going to last. It was a pyramid scheme. It wasn't sustainable, and all these things that were almost identical to the things I heard back when Keller Williams first came on the scene in Ohio. What was really ironic and funny to me was a lot of the people that had taken that chance and moved to Keller Williams, although those things were being said, were now the ones telling the story that eXp was not sustainable in a pyramid scheme. So a little bit of irony there, but beyond that, the negativity made me look close at that eXp model, just like I had done with the Keller Williams model back in 2007. So as I looked at it, I saw a lot of similarities to Keller Williams, but with a little bit better progression, in my opinion. One, the split was, again, better than what my split was at Keller Williams. An 80-20 split. With a cap of 16,000 as opposed to the 21,000 I had at Keller Williams. So there was a lot of positives right there off the start. But then as I looked deeper, there was a lot more to it. And one of the things that really blew me away was the revenue share. So when I looked at that and I saw the entire model, I said, this is as easy of a decision as it was for me to go to Keller Williams in 2007, as it is today for me to go to eXp. So I went ahead and made that transition. Now, That's a little bit of background about me and how I made the decision to look at eXp. Now I want to go into exactly what it is that eXp offers, where they came from, and some other viewpoints. And the reason I'm doing this again is to come from an informational standpoint. I have a lot of people that are reaching out to me and asking me, why did you make that transition? Since you've been there, has it been a good transition? Do you intend to keep selling, or are you just going to recruit? And it's funny, I've had my strongest quarter and my strongest quarters, I should say, since being at eXp than I ever have in my real estate career. So hopefully that answers that. And I'll talk a little bit more about selling real estate here in a minute. But the company as a whole, the company was founded by this gentleman here, Glenn Sanford. So Glenn had this vision while he was working at Keller Williams. He wanted to create a company that was cloud-based and could become, in his words, the Amazon of real estate. So with the creation of eXp, Glenn gave us a platform that was truly anytime, anywhere. A lot like Netflix, Travelocity, Uber, and those type of companies. Heck, I don't even shop at the grocery store anymore. I go in an app, I pick what I want, I go either pick it up or sometimes have it delivered. So what he's done is he's been able to find a way to give all the tools to the real estate agent while still meeting the needs of the consumer. And all these companies that are no longer in existence, look at Blockbuster, they're gone. Netflix took them completely out of the marketplace. And how did that happen? Because Netflix was able to say what is needed by the consumer, what is wanted by the consumer. So Blockbuster it was a $6 billion company with all this overhead and all these brick and mortar stores and everything that comes with that, with employees and healthcare and all those things. 4 reasons why I think anyone should consider leaving any brokerage, but especially if you're going to look at eXp. The 4 that I think are the most important considerations for myself and a lot of agents like me was, number 1 is lead generation opportunities. Do they have something in place? They do, and I'll get to that. Number 2, training. I did touch on it a little bit, and we'll go a little bit more in depth here in a minute. Number 3 is equity awards. Can I purchase and be ownership or a shareholder in the company? Which we can at eXp. And number 4 is the revenue share. And that is there an ownership group that gets to partake in all my profits? Or do I get to share that among other contributors of the company? And obviously at eXp, revenue share is a part of the model. So let's talk number 1 about lead generation. The successful real estate agent must become a master lead generator. And I believe that. So with the advent of the cloud-based brokerage, eXp had to answer that question. eXp has partnered with KV Core. Now, KV Core purchase conversion CRM. So what you see here is KV Core is being offered to all eXp agents for $50 a month. So if you look at KV Core on the whole, it is a CRM and a lead generation tool all in one. Now, I had conversion and KV Core before I came to eXp, and I know what it costs. The upfront cost was a $1,000 setup fee, and then after that it was $6,000 a year. So $7,000 investment for your first year, $6,000 per year thereafter. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely, because it's how we generated our own leads. It's how we were able to communicate with our clients in a very effective manner. What I'll say is, while that $7,000 is worth it, I sure did hate to pay it. So eXp has partnered with KV Core and given us an opportunity to purchase that for $50 a month. On to number 2. In eXp, I'm able to attend 5 to 10 training events every day. So 5 to 10 live training events where I can go into the cloud, I can enter into a classroom, I can sit there and listen, and I can interact, I can ask questions, I can raise my hand, I can be part of the conversation 10 times a day. Every Sunday, I get an email that tells me what the curriculum is for the week, what classes are at what time, and which ones I want to attend, or then place them in my calendar. So the fact that people are saying that eXp is not offering training is just simply not true. I have more training opportunities at eXp than I had anywhere else. And I don't think that there's any brokerage that can offer up to 10 a day. So now, we start to get a little bit more excited, or at least I do, about when I started looking at eXp and what they had to offer. This was the turning point. These were things that I could see that I didn't see anywhere else in the industry whatsoever, whether it be small brokerage, national brokerage, or whatever. What I saw was eXp was going to offer me an equity opportunity. And that equity was in the form of stock. So I am now a shareholder. I'm an owner in the company. And there's several ways that you can become shareholders. Now, any agent that has their license at eXp that's done any real estate at all, one deal, is a shareholder and partial owner in eXp. So here's how it works. We have equity awards. So when you come into eXp and you close your first transaction, you'll earn 35 shares of stock. Now, doesn't matter what that stock is trading at that day, it's 35 shares for your first transactional close. So that's wonderful. Now, if I fully cap, which I certainly do, and I think most good agents will cap, that's a $16,000 cap. That's $16,000 in revenue that I've generated for eXp. Once that happens, I get 75 shares of stock awarded to me, no matter what it's trading at that particular day. So in addition to that, if I sponsor an agent, when they close their first transaction, I'll also get 75 shares of stock. So worst case scenario, let's say I'm a capper, I'm going to earn 110 shares of stock every single year. And that's if I don't recruit anyone, if I don't do anything else. Which also, I want to talk about that real quick, because the other thing I've heard, and I have a very close friend at another brokerage that said, well, you guys don't actually sell real estate, you recruit. Well, the model doesn't work at all if we don't sell real estate. And I want to work with cappers. I want to work with people who are doing real estate. And I have zero intention of not selling real estate. So I'll put that, hopefully, that rumor to rest as well. The next way we can earn stock is if we become an icon agent and we receive an icon agent award. So there's certain benchmarks in place. We can go far more in depth on those. But what happens if I become an icon agent? I've capped. I've met a few other benchmarks that are not, they're actually relatively simple for me to achieve. I become an icon agent, and then the company gives me back my $16,000 cap in the form of stock. No, they don't write you a check, but they give it to you in stock, and it's in my account, and I'm very happy that they're able to do that for me. The third way, and this is something that I definitely took advantage of, is you can opt in as an agent. You can opt into the agent equity program. And what the agent equity program does is it allows me to allocate 5% of all my commissions towards purchasing stock. Now, that in itself is good, but what I love about it is that 5% is direct. It happens automatically without me having to think, and I get that stock at 80% of value. So let's say I do a transaction and I get $10,000 in commission. 500 of that is going to go directly to purchase stock, and I get a 20% discount. So my ROI on that stock is 20% from the day I buy it. With that said, I want to throw an SEC disclaimer out there so I don't get in trouble. I'm not a financial advisor. I am not giving financial advice. This is an opinion. Now, you can look at our stock at the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, and that moniker is eXPI. So you can check it out and see what it's done. This morning, it was trading at about 11.5 a share. Okay, so the fourth consideration that I wanted to take into account when I was looking at eXp was the opportunity for the revenue sharing. And I will say it's the most exciting part of eXp for me. I think that's probably true for a lot of other agents. So I'll break it down. But before I do, I want to talk about the difference in revenue sharing and profit sharing. So I'll start with defining profit share because it's a little bit more involved. Profit share is simply the revenue that agents bring to their brokerage, and after it's brought to the brokerage, it has to be divvied up to pay for all the overhead that I talked about, the duplication of services, the salaries, the lights, the upkeep of the building, the insurance of the building, the actual building, the leases, and all those things that go into that you take into account. So after you subtract all of that really large exorbitant amount of overhead, what you're left with is the profit. Now, profit sharing doesn't divvy up that profit yet because you have an owner's group. And typically the owner's group takes about 50%, give or take a little bit. I think we were at 51.49 where I was at, but they take that and half of it goes away immediately. So before you ever see a share of profit, it's going to be greatly reduced by all the tangibles that are completely out of your control with the overhead. And then it's going to be cut in half and then divvied up. So the difference between that and revenue share is revenue share simply says, you're going to get this amount of revenue based on people that you brought over. So $16,000 is the cap. If I bring people over, I will get an amount of money dependent upon their productions. So it's a pretty interesting difference. And there's actually a huge difference between the dollars. And so here's how I'm going to break it down a little bit further to see exactly what the shares are. There are 7 tiers or generations, whichever you prefer to call them. If I say tier or I say generation, I mean those words to be interchangeable. So there's 7 tiers in the revenue share model. If I bring one single agent over to eXp and they're a capping agent, remember, I want to work with capping agents. If they're not capping agents, I want to help them become capping agents. So one person that contributes $16,000 worth of revenue to the company, I will get $2,800 that year. Now, here's a question. People say, well, what if they're not capping? What if they don't cap? Okay, let's say they're a 50% capper. Then they will provide $8,000 in revenue to the company, and I would get $1,400 of that. As we talk about tiers, in the first model, if we're adding people, we would add 5 people to each tier before we can unlock the next tier. So if I put 5 people into tier 1, so in other words, I have recruited 5 real estate agents that decide to come to eXp, name me as their sponsor, and they all cap, then I would get $2,800 per agent. Now that equals $14,000. That's pretty impressive. There's a lot more to it. It gets just better from here. So what happens after I put 5 people in this particular tier, I can unlock my tier 2 and I can start putting people into tier 2. When we start to do the math on that, it becomes exponential and the growth is unbelievable. $2,800 a person, 5 cappers, $14,000 in residual income, reoccurring income. Year after year, as long as these people are at eXp and producing real estate, this money continues to come to me. So when I look at that and I look at my tier 2 and I say, well, I have 5 agents in tier 1, I'm going to continue to recruit, and now I can fill up my tier 2, and I fill up all the way down to tier 6. So I have 25 people on board, and I'm opening up tier 7. Here's the only difference: 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, and 5, all the way to tier 6. Now, to open up your tier 7, you actually need to put 40 people in total. It's an amazing process. Here's what I know. I want to sell real estate. I sell about 60 houses a year. I have no intention of slowing down on real estate right now. I'm 45 years old. I don't know what I'll be doing at 55 and at 65, but I know this: if I can't sell 60 houses, or I don't want to sell 60 houses a year, I will still want the income that I'm making. So this was an opportunity to me, the only opportunity in real estate that I know of that was going to give me that chance to continue to make the residual and reoccurring income for me and my family for the rest of my life. So this is why eXp was so exciting to me. Now, here is another great reason to come to eXp. So I'm just excited for the lead generation and the training and the revenue share and the equity opportunity I have. But here's the reality. Remember, I said I came from a brokerage that was taking a 45-55 split for me. That was, at that time, that was pretty commonplace. But today I think about how astronomical those numbers were and how I was working for next to nothing in the scheme of the way we do things today. What I want to talk about now is the no desk fee, no royalty fee, no franchise fee way of doing real estate. Again, we talk about getting rid of all the duplication of services within each one of those brick and mortar shops. When you do that, revenue is plentiful. They're able to give you an 80-20 commission split at a $16,000 cap. So I was talking to someone yesterday and he said, Sam, I'm already on an 80-20 split. I said, you are? I thought you had a franchise fee. He goes, well, that doesn't count. I think it counts because they take it out of your check. So his franchise fee was actually 5%, and that 5% never goes away. It's always there. So he's really working for a 75% split, which is fine. We can find places that'll give you a better than an 80% split or better than a $16,000 cap. I'm sure you can. But with the other opportunities, the lead generation, the training, the equity opportunities, the revenue sharing, that's not going to happen for something different. So just the 80-20 split alone with a $16,000 cap was enough for me to look at eXp and say, you know what, it might be a great business model for me. Now, with that, I will say that once you cap, so once you've earned enough revenue to pay that $16,000 cap, then each transaction is going to cost you a fee of $250. Now, you only pay that for 20 transactions, because then once you've paid that $5,000 in the transaction fees, then it drops down to $75. Now, With standard cost, I do want to talk about what it costs. Well, you're going to pay $85 a month to eXp. That's what it costs to do business at eXp. So we'll start with, if you wanted to come over, say tomorrow, $149 you're going to pay. That's a one-time fee. That's going to cover your first month expenses, but that's your big capital investment to come over here and be a part of reoccurring residual income. Then you're going to pay the $50 a month for your tech fee, and that gets you your CRM, KV Core. And you're going to pay $35 a month for your university fee. That way you can go into the cloud and access all those live training events I talked about. So 85 bucks a month. Now, in addition to that, you're going to pay a $25 broker review fee. And that is anytime you turn in a file, the broker is going to go ahead and review it. Again, we don't have all that duplication of services. We don't have to pay salaries over and over and over again. We are going to pay $25 to have that file reviewed. The other thing you're going to pay is a $40 risk management fee, or basically your E&O, errors and emissions insurance, and you're going to pay 40 bucks per transaction until you pay $500. Once you pay in $500, then you're capped for the year at your E&O, and you no longer pay per transaction until the following year when it starts again. So that in itself was enough. The commission schedule was in itself enough to make me look at eXp. Now, this is what's happening. People are no longer listening to the broker or the manager or the team leader that is dependent on you keeping your license there. So they're telling you there's no training available, or eXp is not sustainable, or whatever it is that they're telling you today to not look at eXp. This is what's happening. People are looking at eXp. And Glenn opened, obviously, the doors in 2009. Took a bit of time, like anything, to get started. So 2013, under 500 agents. Still under 1,000 in 14, at 15, just around 1,000, 16. Oh, look, we start to double up. And this is the trajectory that's very, very important when you look. 2017, an agent count of about 6,500. And then the end of 2018, just under 16,000. We're in the first quarter of 2019. We're over 16,000 agents, with a goal for the end of 2019 of 45,000 agents. Well within our reach. When you look at this trajectory, what you're seeing is this web effect and this network of people saying, listen, I know what you might have heard about eXp, but do your due diligence and check out what really is happening and what the capabilities are for you to earn that residual income, that reoccurring income, that income that all of us are, we talk about other revenue streams. We talk about residual income. We talk about reoccurring income, because the way it works right now, I love selling houses, but every time I sell a house, I get to start over to sell a house. And the minute I stop doing that is the minute that those commission checks stop if I'm not at eXp. Because I'm at eXp, if I have a life-changing event or I slow down in any fashion, I can depend on the reoccurring income to save the day. So it's a very important process. With that said, I do believe that everybody should do their due diligence no matter what they're looking at. Again, don't take my word for it. Go to this website, join.exprealty.com, and register. What happens when you register is that is not going to be shared with anyone. Your broker will not know you're taking a look at eXp. What will happen is you're going to get a 45-page independent contractor agreement that you can review. What I would suggest, print that sucker out. When you print it out, we'll get a highlighter and a fine-tooth comb and look at it letter for letter, word for word, and page for page, and circle anything that you have questions about and do your research. Make sure it says what I've told you it says. And then if you want to find out more, contact whoever it is that is working with you to show you what eXp is and have them sponsor you at eXp. If I'm not that person, please do the person that's doing the legwork and has shared this video with you. Give them that opportunity to bring you on and be your sponsor. Now, with that said, I will say also share this video. Share it with the people that you know, like, and trust to help you make a decision and say, am I missing something here? What is it that I'm not seeing? Two things are going to happen. One is other people may get excited for your opportunity. And two, you're going to be able to have that confidence that you are looking at it exactly how it's meant to be looked at. Don't listen to all these outside sources, and me included. Look at it for what it is and make a decision about your future. Do you want to be at eXp where you have that residual income that reoccurs every single year? Thanks, and have a great day.